I'm here sitting with Carnie from CR3 American Exteriors, and James on our team is joining us as well. And thanks for joining us today, Carnie.
Thanks for having me out in the beautiful area of Atlanta, Georgia.
It's your favorite city in the world, right?
I've actually never spent any time here, and when I was looking at it from the sky flying in, I didn't realize how absolutely enormous it is. So I'm excited to be here.
It's a big city. Well, thanks for joining us. And I want to steer this podcast in a little bit of a different direction than all of your other recent podcasts. So I have some kind of out there questions for you. But why don't we start still with an introduction? Give us the rundown. Who are you? What do you do? And what's your what are you out in the roofing industry doing these days?
So obviously, as you mentioned, my name's Carnie Fryfogle. I am the CEO of CR3 American Exteriors. Founded the company back in 2017. Saw some success very early on. We scaled that company from inception. I had $2,500 in my checking account as a 21, 22-year-old. I'll call myself an adult, but I was more of a kid at that point. So I had $2,500 in my checking account and founded the company in 2017, scaled it to just under $15 million in 4 years. And private equity was knocking at our door at 26, 27 years old. It sounds exciting to potentially exit and make a couple bucks, but I knew that it wasn't like it could have been a decent payday, but I knew it wasn't going to be enough for me to live my life forever, right? So do I work for somebody? Do I start another business? What does that look like? And through navigating that experience, we just recognized that it wasn't the right time for us. And we always set out on a really big and lofty goal of being one of the largest in the entire nation in the exterior remodeling space. And we weren't there yet. So at that point in time, it was 2022. I decided that we weren't going to exit, but we needed another growth strategy to keep up with private equity that was about to enter our space. As we talk here today in 2025, everybody knows what's going on with private equity. But we realized that we had to have a different growth strategy. So that growth strategy that we settled on in 2022, in the summer of 2022, was franchising. So in the spring of 23, we opened our first franchise location that I did not own. We brought in an owner-operator. They were operating under our license, under our operating system, under our brand, and then went on another, I'd say, pretty explosive growth period from the spring of 23 until I talked to you today. We have over 35 awarded territories, and I know it's 13 or 14 days into December, but by the end of the year, we should have over 50 awarded territories. So we're moving very quick. I tell my team all the time, we are not perfect, but we're chasing perfection. I think Nick Saban said that, right? So
I'm not sure. I love the quote though.
In a nutshell, that's been my experience in the industry over the last 7 to 8 years.
I love it. You have, with that experience, you have a wealth of knowledge and insight, I'm sure, into how roofing contractors operate. You're seeing from your franchisees, you're seeing inside their businesses. You're talking to a lot of contractors out in the market. So my question to you right out of the gate here is, things are changing really fast in the industry. There's a lot of technology, the AI is really changing how contractors do business. What's the biggest mistake you see contractors making today?
With technology or in general?
Just in general, but taking into account the changes in technology.
I can't put it as one singular thing, so I'm going to give you an answer, and then you guys can do what you do with that information. But I would say definitely financials. So a lot of people, they think that their financials are good, and they're not. Financial literacy is lacking tremendously in the roofing and just construction space. The problem with construction versus most industries is there's large timing differences where I could get contracted to do your work, AJ, or James's roof or whatever, and by the time that we sign that contract, I got to get labor involved, I got to purchase materials, and I actually have to build the system before I can get paid probably the majority of the signed contract amount. So there's large timing differences there, which lead to cash flow crises. Yeah. And if you are not keeping a good eye on your books and records, your financials are not clean, what happens, and I've seen this happen to buddies, I've seen it happen to competitors in the industry, and unfortunately, we've seen this even happen to some of our franchisees that are not following our system and not paying attention. Before you know it, they wake up and boom, they're like, how did I even get here? How did I end up in X amount of debt? I mean, we know people that have put themselves in hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt in a very short period of time. But it's a popular thing in our industry, and for whatever reason, business owners tend to neglect it all the time, even though they know that it's going to be their kryptonite. So I would say poor financial literacy and poor awareness of their financials is one of the biggest mistakes that somebody can make. The other is thinking that they can do everything. Everybody says they want to scale and grow a business, but a lot of those people are not willing to relinquish control. They're not willing to properly train and delegate tasks to team members and allow them to fumble and make mistakes so that they can mature enough to properly handle those administrative tasks or whatever it may be. And if you want to grow an organization, you're going to need people. So if you cannot properly delegate and relinquish control, you're going to struggle like crazy. So, and then the third thing would be relevant to 2025, and I'd say the last 5 years specifically, would be the adoption of technology. We're moving very, very quick. Technology is evolving very quick. Everybody is now aware of the AI buzz that's going on, and the speed at which companies and tech companies are moving it's scary, honestly, how fast that people are able to move and this technology is able to move. So a lot of contractors are just kind of being left in the dust because they have their own little system and process, but it's not conducive with the explosive growth that you need in an organization to try and compete with people like private equity, franchise companies, roll-ups, whatever it may be. So those are my three things. It'd be finances would be number one. Secondary would be lack of control and delegating that control to other parties. And then the third thing would be understanding technology and how to leverage it as an asset to help you to scale.
I love all three of those. Why don't we do this? Let's try to structure this whole podcast around those three and just start from the top. So let's circle back on the financial piece and go from there, and then we'll dig into that for a little while, and then we'll transition to the other two. On the financial piece, do you see that as just simply a timeless fundamental business problem, or do you see that as in 2025 being bigger or more important than ever before? Or is this just always just a constant that if you're in business, you need to understand your financials?
I think it's timeless because like I would consider myself to be very entrepreneurial spirited. I've never had a W-2 paycheck ever. I've never worked at McDonald's. I've never done anything. Never done anything that most kids when they're growing up do, or most adults. So with that being said, like I hate finances. Like, it's ironic. I'm preaching that you need to have financial literacy, but like I can't stand it. I hate it. It's just not something that I enjoy or that I'm good at. So
which is not unusual with entrepreneurial leader types.
The overwhelming majority of people that get into business are not getting into it because they like looking at Excel sheets.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's just most people get into business because they see a need or they see an opportunity or they're good at one portion of whatever it is that they're trying to chase in said industry or whatever it may be. And with that, they neglect the finances. But finances is like numbers don't lie. And they are the truth to how healthy that business is. We could look at employees, we could look at performance, we could look at everybody wants to get attached to revenue, but their bottom line is super unhealthy. And you're doing a disservice to yourself, your family, your employees, vendors, you name it, because you're putting everybody at risk by not understanding your finances. But most people do not get into business to be a CFO. They get into business to be a CEO and operate the business, which is the second point is like you got to get the right people around you. But to me, it's timeless. I think it's always been an issue. I think it will always continue to be an issue. And hopefully with modern technology, there's ways to help to support these founders that just don't have that knowledge and may not be able to afford somebody with that knowledge.
What's the number, if you were to rank this, the financial metrics that contractors need to be keeping track of and aren't, what's the top of that list?
I mean, they got to know what their gross profit is. Most people say I'm operating at a 40% gross profit. and they have no idea. They don't know because they think that they're selling. One of the big things that I've recognized over the years is people don't know the difference between margin and markup.
Oh, huge problem. Yeah.
And fortunately, you guys built a system to help to alleviate some of that. But
Yeah.
we've had people go in like the estimating portion of ProLine, and they're like, "Hey, this is wrong." I'm like, "No, it's not. You're doing markup, not margin."
Right.
So, just something as simple as understanding markup versus margin is huge. And I forget the question that you asked, honestly.
No,
You're
so
talking about
ranking,
importance in finances.
and you're talking about gross, which is huge. So just actually understanding margin, that you want to be using margin and not markup, and then just gross profitability. That's number one on the list, right?
Yeah, and just simply like making sure your financials are clean. What I have seen, everybody does it. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen, which is I want to start a business and I have a spouse, and naturally my thought is I'm going to operate the business, and my spouse, in this instance I'll use my wife is going to be my bookkeeper. Well, my wife has never opened up QuickBooks a day in her life. She has no idea how to do anything in terms of accounting.
Yeah.
So just because I want to operate the business and my wife is there with a smiling face, I'm going to get her to do something she knows nothing about. Like, people, you need a really good bookkeeper and somebody to handle your finances that truly knows how to do that.
Yeah.
Don't just put a warm body there because you are not interested in it, but you know somebody needs to take care of it, and naturally your spouse is there to handle it. I see that happen all the time in business, and it's one of the worst mistakes anybody could ever make.
Is just thinking that, oh, well, if somebody's paying attention to it, it's probably fine, rather than realizing that you need you need someone that is passionate and knowledgeable about bookkeeping. Is that what you're saying? It's like you need that, someone that actually knows what they're doing.
Yeah, fortunately, I partnered with somebody early on, my partner Mark, and he's a public accountant. I mean, that was what he did before he got into private business, CPA by trade. So, like, that guy knows finances like the back of his hand. That's what he's good at. I'm good at the operational stuff and the technical stuff. He's really good at finances. We're skipping to item number 2 on my 3 most critical things, but I don't even know how to log into my bank account. I've never been in QuickBooks ever. I've been doing this for 8 years, 2 different companies. Both are doing what I would say is pretty dang well. I've never logged into QuickBooks ever.
So and that's a huge point to hit on, is not that owners need to get into the numbers themselves. It's that understand that's a weakness for yourself, and that it has to be filled by someone that knows what they're doing, and then find that right person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's critical.
What about early on so let's kind of, we'll transition to that second category. Is there any early on, though, in a contractor's business where things are still really tight? How do you go about making, like, how can you hire someone like that's really knows what they're doing when you can barely pay yourself?
It's a great question. And I move very quick. So like when we're working with our franchisees and strategic partners and other business owners and stuff like that, we're doing exactly what we're telling them to do. That's the funny thing, is we're growing a franchise concept as a franchisor in tandem with these individuals growing their business. Right now we have 17 full-time employees at the franchisor level. Our franchisees are nowhere near, not a single one of them is even a fraction of 17 full-time employees, right? So what I understood very early on is, and I don't talk about this a whole lot, I'm starting to talk about it a lot more because I see how important it is to talk about, which is people are afraid to talk about it because they don't, like, it's not sexy what I'm about to say, but it's so important, and I contribute almost everything that we've been able to do to this simple fundamental thing, which is pay yourself as little as possible. My first four or 5 years in business, to go from 0 to 15 million in annual, I paid myself a salary of $50,000, no less, no more. I did not take distributions. Now, I had a company vehicle, gas card, all that stuff, like the luxuries of being an owner operator, but $50,000 salary. By the time all of the benefits and everything came out of it, I was making $495 a week. Think about that. You have a $15 million company. I would say arguably the lowest paid employee at the time. And I had 50 employees working underneath me. So that most people are not willing to endure that, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing in any business. If you're operating selfishly, you are going to put yourself at a disadvantage because you're playing against people like me and some of these really good founders that will eat literal shit for 5 years before they ever take any type of decent pay. Because every dollar, it's like compounding interest. Every dollar that you take out of that organization is a dollar that cannot be invested in the future of that organization. I would rather make less money in the early days and invest in people and infrastructure and human capital. That way we can get where we want to go 3 or 5 times faster than any of our competitors, because I know that our competitors aren't willing to eat shit for as long as I am.
Yeah.
But that is one of those big key fundamental things. So to answer your question, you have to do whatever you possibly can do to eat shit long enough to get people in place that you can delegate those important critical tasks to, one of which is being bookkeeping. I wrote an entire book. It's like 120 pages we give to our franchisees once they sign on with us and they join us. It's 120 pages. And in the first chapter, the very first thing that I talk about is how to get your ass in gear and get moving fast enough that you can make your first investment in the first 30 to 90 days, which is hire a bookkeeper. And fortunately, with all these different organizations out there and virtual assistants, and you can leverage really good talent for much cheaper than, like, in 8 to 10 years ago, I wasn't thinking about virtual assistants, but knowing what I know now, my God, you can get a full-time bookkeeper that can move probably 3 to 4 times faster than anybody in the United States and only pay them $2,500 a month versus paying somebody 2 to 3x that in the United States.
Right.
And so making an investment like that is, it can happen a lot faster nowadays, in my opinion, than what it could 10 years ago.
Here's how roofers make it home for dinner every single night without losing a single sale, even when they're one-man shows. Automate your communication with ProLine, the only communication-first CRM for roofers. Because when you fix your communication, you'll sell more jobs. Your weekends will smell more like sunscreen and backyard barbecues than that crappy gas station coffee. And all you got to do is ask these roofers.
Where we had about 200% growth, and I attribute that to incorporating ProLine.
But just with one automation, I was able to get 25 Google reviews.
It's been absolutely insane how quickly we were able to grow. Now, ProLine's not going to win the beauty pageant, but it will save your Saturday. Now, back to the show.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. What, yeah, and that's, I love that prioritization of the bookkeeper as that first critical hire, and the fact that it doesn't even have to be a full-time, it's not like you got to hire someone that's, $100,000 a year. You can hire a virtual assistant, and you can hire you can even hire someone fractionally when you're early. That's not even full time. They might be doing it part time, which is very accessible. And I was curious, James, you guys talk to so many contractors that are evaluating ProLine every week. This probably comes up during the sales process, is like what are their numbers, who do they have doing their numbers, how do they handle their financials? Do you have any gauge on how many of the contractors you talk to have that dedicated bookkeeper that's a professional and not just is there any, could you throw like a percentage out?
15%.
15%.
Yeah, maybe
okay.
85% of people have their mother, brother, son, grandma, somebody else doing books that has no understanding of accounting, can't tell you if they're cash or accrual, can't tell you why they need all these super special snowflake things and exports and this and that, have no idea about accounting. And when they put their accountant on there, their CPA, to like evaluate ProLine on a third or fourth call, the CPA is like, yeah, this is all fine.
But you have someone, yeah.
Yeah, you have 3 or 4 gatekeepers in there that want it to be done a certain way, but have no accounting background, have no bachelor's degree, have no associate's degree, have no continuing education, and are running your financials and are responsible for making sure that you stay in the green and they're doing massive disservices.
One of the big things that I want to mention is, like, to your point, like we have a resource for our franchisees that's only like $500 or $1,000 a month, which is nothing. I mean, you're talking 12 grand for
like fractional bookkeeping.
Yeah, for an entire year, and your books and records are going to be clean. But one of the things is, I made a little note here. I wrote playing business. It's a big difference. That's the thing. That's the whole key here is, like, some of us are here to build a legitimate business and an asset and something that creates massive impact for hundreds, if not thousands of people. Others are just here playing business. They think it's cool because they get a little card that says CEO on it, or president, or owner, and they're not willing to do what it takes to actually build a true asset. To build an asset takes time. Your team needs to mature. The system needs to mature. People in your organization need to mature. Your relationship with your vendors need to mature, and you need to be willing to endure pain. And you need to be willing to invest in other people and other things before you're willing to invest in yourself, which is a super hard thing for people to understand. We've been working on this franchise concept since the summer of 2022. It's December of 25. What is that, 2.5 years, roughly?
Yeah.
Or no, 3.5, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Been working on this for 3.5 years. Me and 2 of my partners have never taken a dollar, not a single dollar. We have credit cards where, like, when we travel to meet people and do things, that's the only compensation that any of us see, which is a business expense. None of us have taken a dollar for 3.5 years. Mm-hmm. Those are people that are playing. They're not playing business. They are doing business. Yeah. And think about it. If you have 3 partners, and let's just say hypothetically they're all making $100,000, that's $300,000 that they can't invest into the organization. And as that compounds over 3.5 years, and however long we're going to continue to keep that up, good luck competing with somebody like that when you're trying to pay yourself $250,000 a year and go buy a jacked up GMC Denali like everybody likes to do.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a resistance to making that sacrifice. Do you think that any of that changes though with technology, with AI? Can you maybe there's fewer people you have to hire, and so because of that, maybe you can pay yourself? How do you think about that?
100%. But once again, if you can eat shit for long enough and still have the technology, that money can go compound and go make little money babies. Yeah. So,
so you're still going to lose to someone that's willing to make the sacrifice.
Correct, because people like us have, I would argue to say that we have some of the best technology, some of the best systems, some of the best human capital that exist in the roofing and exterior space. And we're not taking a dollar. We're investing all of our time, effort, energy, and money into making and perfecting our operating system and our marketing and our franchise development efforts, and looking at key relationships with vendors and how to improve that. So the technology helps to reduce overhead, but when you're competing against people who still are willing to reinvest that additional money that they could be putting into their pocket into the long-term growth of the organization, then you're still going to be at a disadvantage. I look at that as like that to me is, it's the thing that separates like really good founders versus like people that are good at business. Like, there's people that are good at business, they make money, they run a good organization, and they do what they do. And then you have these like really strong founder type individuals that just are built different and look at things differently, and they operate very unselfish, and the organization comes way before their personal well-being does. And those people are the ones that build incredible things over time.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. I mean, it takes so many years. It takes so much longer than most people think.
It's the hardest thing anybody will ever do.
Yeah.
To do it and do it big and do it right. It's the hardest thing any human will ever do.
And that doesn't just apply to starting a franchise or starting a software platform. It applies to every single contractor. This is a fundamental business concept. And I think I have a mentor and coach named Mike Gomez, who, shout out to Mike. But he always talks about, let me see, how does he put it? He's like, founders walking out here thinking that because they put CEO on the door or on their name card, that now they have special gifts from God on how to run a business. And it's like, no, that you have to actually be willing to sacrifice and spend years and then learn the things that you need to learn to actually run the business right.
So one of the things that I tell our team all the time is, so anytime that we bring a new location on, or you guys onboard a new contractor, and that's in excess of what you currently have, that's new. It's brand new for you. No, you've never been there before. It's uncharted territories, right? So when you're growing and scaling an organization, you are constantly in a state of unclarity because you've never been there before. Your team has never been there before. Your organization has never been there before. So if we operate with a level of ignorance, thinking that we are just the smartest people on the face of the earth because we're a CEO and we know exactly what we're doing. If you're scaling and growing a company, you constantly have no fucking clue what you're doing, because every single day that you do something in excess of what you did yesterday is a new challenge. It's a new threshold that needs to be crossed. There's new people, new technology, new infrastructure that needs to be in place. So anytime that you're growing something, you're going to be in discomfort, and it's something that you have to learn to navigate and live with.
Oh yeah, it's but that's the nature of the job. That's why I think some people never quite make that realization of it never ends, because that's the job. The job is well, as a founder, but then also that extends to leadership team as well. As you start to get larger, it's like you're saying, you're constantly facing things that you have never faced before, and you have to be able to make sense of that. You have to wade into that uncertainty. One of our core values is make it simple. It used to be keep it simple, and then we realized that is a lost cause. You can't keep it simple, but you can make it simple, because you're constantly wading into that complexity and that mess that it just comes with building an asset, building a business, and then making sense of it.
One of our, I'll call him a mentor, one of our mentors that we deal with on a semi-regular basis, he always says words matter. And keeping it simple implies that we're going to remain the same, which I like why you guys changed that up, because that could get misconstrued very, very quickly.
100%. And we realized it was getting misconstrued internally. We did some internal reflection. We're like, why are people resisting this? No, I love that. Let's transition into a little bit more on the technology side. Where do you feel that how do you think about technology? Because things are changing very fast. You guys are changing with it. And so how do you guys approach that goal of keeping up with the technological progress and AI and everything that's coming?
I don't know if you're going to like my opinion on this, because it might scare you a little bit. If I'm right, it's definitely going to scare you a little bit. But I know you know what you're doing, so I trust you. But I think that one of the big things that we're up against right now is technology is evolving and changing so fast that those of us that are following it are trying to run and keep up with it, which I believe is good because it puts us at an advantage in the marketplace. But what I'm also starting to recognize, which is kind of scary, kind of not at the same time though, is the technology is getting so advanced. And the second that it becomes advanced enough that it's hard to advance even more, that my thought is that it's going to be so easily accessible by the general public and so easy to adopt. Because once you've developed this super technological thing, then the idea is to simplify it so that it's regularly adopted by more people. If your platform can only be adopted by $5 million producers or $10 million producers, well, that's a gate for you, right? So then let's build this great platform, let's build this product, and then once we have really, really solid system foundation, we have all the key operational things that support a roofing and exterior company. Now we need to look at refining it to a point that your average bear, it could be a mom and pop shop, can take this technology and leverage it and use it and help it to support their business. So I believe that what we're seeing is very similar to like the World Wide Web. like the internet. Now, I'm a little too young to really recognize what happened during that time, but I think that the playing field with technology between big business and small business, the gap is getting narrower and narrower because people who run a $3 million roofing company have access to technology right now that $100 million roofing contractors only had access to, because now it's more affordable and it's easier to implement, and AI is making it a lot easier as well. So what I'm starting to recognize is I think that this technological bubble or whatever that we're in right now, a lot of us are running with it so that we fully understand it and we feel like it's necessary to keep up with it, which we're one of those people. But I do believe that over the next, I don't know if it's going to be 3-5 years, it might be shorter than that, that the playing field between a $1 billion company and a $1 million company is going to be marginal in terms of technology. And then at that point, as a business owner in the exterior and construction industry, I need to look at, how do I advance the organization beyond, like, technology is the big thing right now. That's how we can separate and differentiate ourselves from a lot of people, for customers, for contractors, for support, you name it, to help reduce overhead. But then once everybody's competing with marginal differences in technology, then what's that next thing to separate us, right? So that's just what I'm seeing right now, and that's my opinion on it.
Yeah. So you're saying there is not this. There's currently and in the past been a lack of access to advanced technology. It was hard to get access to the advanced technology, and now everyone kind of has access to it. So then the next level of the game is when everyone has similar technology, at least everyone's winning. How do you differentiate yourself after that?
Correct. The delta
James is making faces.
the delta is shrinking.
Hold on one second, though. Are we talking about competence in usage of technology or
No.
access to the technology?
No, there's a big difference.
Because
I think these are two conversations.
I don't believe that there's anywhere close to a marginal difference between a $1 million operator and a $1 billion operator. I don't think that's marginal in deployment. I think it's marginal, the further we get down on this, on access, on front-end gated access.
Yes, that's accurate.
Yeah. Now the on the other side, if you're looking at adoption and you look at a company, it's not even about the revenue. It's a company that has adopted minimal technology versus a company that has adopted everything they can that makes sense. I think the delta from there has become massive. Maybe 3 to 5 years ago, it wasn't. It was big. Maybe you have someone that has good CRM system, good financial system versus like a pen and paper contractor. They could still kind of compete. The pen and paper contractor could kind of, maybe they weren't going to get as big, but they could still have a good life for themselves and make a good living. But I think the delta between those two ends of the spectrum on adoption and competency, I think that delta has become a cavernous. I mean, this is a gorge now.
Yeah, I agree with both of you, which is the access is there. Everybody has access to it now.
Yeah.
And once if you could figure out how to adopt it properly and integrate it to your business, then that delta shrinks. And then to your point, if you're not willing to adopt it and you're stuck in your ways and you're not keeping an eye on the pulse, that gap is just getting bigger and bigger by the day. So I agree with both of you guys on that.
Where do you see, so there's 3 groups here. There's people that are resistant to adopt technology, to rapidly adopt new technology, and they're kind of getting left behind at an increasing rate. Then you have this other group that's looking to adopt, and as we said, like the margin between what a smaller company has access to and the bigger company, that's sort of shrinking. So this group is all kind of getting closer together as we move forward, adopting more technology. So let's get back to what I think you were about to get into, which is if you're in that group that's adopting technology as rapidly as possible, how does if with all else being equal, how does a company stand out from the crowd? Maybe they're in the market and all 5 major players in their market all have the AI receptionist, the AI lead nurture, scoring, training for their team. They've adopted all the different technologies. They have it all up and running nicely. How does a company in that environment differentiate? What's the next level?
you're gonna think I'm crazy, but I've seen this in construction, and if you notice, things come in like cycles. I'm about to shout her out behind the camera. She's wearing high-waisted jeans right now. High-waisted jeans, and she got like the little flare at the bottom of her jeans. That shit went out of style a long time ago, but it's coming back, right? So I think as technology starts to take over, and people are talking to AI receptionists and they're talking to AI agents, which we have all of that, right? Thanks to ProLine and some of the other things that we're doing. But what I believe is we need to really keep an eye on that, because at any point in time when it's all just, we like to go at, I don't know why, but like we like to like bring shit back in. It all comes in cycles. So I think that the next big phase is going to be full adoption of technology. It's going to take years and years and years to go mainstream. And then after that, you're going to have to probably be faced with a decision to maybe turn the technology back a little bit and let people interact with actual warm bodies and humans again. Because like we see this in the construction industry, all these different trends. I have wallpaper in my house. The second my wife said that she wanted to put we just renovated our house a year ago. When she told me she wanted to put wallpaper in, I was like, hell no, we're not putting wallpaper in. Painted cabinets went out of style, and stain grade cabinets came in. But all of these things, there's a cycle where people yearn for things that were out of style and are coming back into style, like her pants, for instance. So I think that, and then also that's just one portion of a business. The technology is just one facet of a business. Now, we're relying so heavily on technology that it's basically an operating system at the same point. It's a business solution nowadays. So it's figuring out how to tweak it, optimize it, and then also looking for little ways to separate yourself in the marketplace. And once again, I think that there is potentially a wave of warm-bodied humans that in 5-10 years from now start to take over again.
I couldn't agree more. I think we and I don't even think it's going to be a kind of a wave that comes back in. I think it's now. People are already having some resistance to, I have to talk to an AI agent. Why am I having to talk to this AI agent? Because they can tell. If for no other reason that the agent is too perfect. Sometimes it's like that alone gives it away. And
you're talking to it and you're like, I know you've never had a bad day in your life. You sound way too damn happy to be talking to me right now.
Yeah, there's no way. Yeah. So no, there's I think that like our vision on the ProLine side for technology is very much, we want to automate everything that can be automated while enabling the people. Because, and this is in our vision statement, that there will always be people in the roofing business. And I do think that there's going to be kind of a yo-yo effect that I think you're saying, of like, people are going to go too far. They're going to cut too many people off their team, and they'll be like, oh shoot, we got to dial that back. But those people are going to be able to do what people do best, which is be empathetic, have establish human connection, talk to people, do those little gestures that AI is never going to be able to do. And you have an office manager, and maybe she's not taking every front end call, because a lot of the front end calls might go to a really high quality AI receptionist who says it's an AI receptionist. We can talk about that, because that's where a lot of other people are going wrong, I think, is trying to like
disguise it.
That's a huge mistake. But when there's someone that calls in and they have a unique situation, or they're disgruntled, maybe it's a current customer, that going to Amanda, the office manager, and Amanda's super sweet and is able to talk to them and be like, oh yeah, and oh, I know last time you called in, you were worried about your dogs and you want to make sure that they were kept in the gate. How are they doing? Like those little things that the AI probably is just not gonna get. Those little human touches, and those I think that sounds like what you're getting at is like those human touches are gonna end up being that differentiator between companies that are fully adopting technology.
Every single one of us in this room has probably had an experience in the last 6 months where somebody just treated them so damn good, and you're like, wow, it's been a long time. Like, you have a Chipotle across the office from here. I can almost guarantee you, and this is not a knock on Chipotle, but I can almost guarantee you the attitude of the people that are working in there. Yeah. Versus if me and you go to a high-end steakhouse, we're going to have a whole totally different experience. Now, the result is the food is still getting its job done to nourish our body, but the experience is night and day difference, and it's why we go spend 10x at a good steakhouse versus just going to Chipotle. And that interaction that you have is, they're becoming more and more rare. So I believe the companies that double down on that experience and those humane interactions and just go all in on that customer experience, leverage technology. I'm not saying like don't be an idiot, like use technology, use it to reduce overhead so that you can focus on the things that matter the most to make that customer's experience the best that you possibly can. And I could name a few different experiences that me and my wife have had recently where we're like, either this is absolutely terrible and this is just going downhill, or holy shit, it's been a minute since somebody acted and treated us the way that this person is. It's night and day.
Yeah, 100%. I think that in my mind is the biggest reason to use. We'll specifically look at AI receptionists. The biggest reason to use AI receptionists is not so that you can let go of your office manager that's been taking the calls. It's so that your office manager can afford, when those calls come through for some special case and it gets passed to her, because the AI receptionist is not just a normal booking of something. When those get passed to her, she actually can sit there for 15 minutes and have a human conversation because she's not super stressed trying to juggle every single call that comes in. It's a better experience for the people calling in because they're always getting answered, right? They're not having to go to voicemail while she's on the call with somebody else, but she can sit there and provide that experience. I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, yeah, there's definitely some overhead reduction, but I totally agree with you that it's going to be a yo-yo. Companies are going to take this too far. They're going to let go of too many people on their team, and then they're going to be left with a smaller team that's still stressed, and then they're going to have to be like, oh, we got to add some more people because we need our people to be able to provide that experience. I couldn't agree more. Where from a tech stack standpoint, where do you see, how do you think about tech stack? Because there's a lot of solutions out here right now, and it's sometimes it's really hard to choose. Like, what do you use? What do you don't use? How do you guys think about?
You really teed me up for this one. So we started talking before we got the cameras rolling, and we decided that we just save it for the podcast. But through exploring all of the different resources out there in our industry or just resources that are just readily available, what I've noticed is that there's a ton of I'll call them solutions, like they're solution-driven platforms, but all that they are is like one little piece of the puzzle. And the thing that we were discussing is when you have all these different options and all these different little minute pieces of the puzzle, and your tech stack is just overly complex with a ton of different logins and a ton of different connections, whether they're API connections or Zapier connections or whatever it is, it just becomes messy. So my opinion is that I think over the next 2 to 3 years, a lot of these solution-driven companies and organizations and tech providers are probably going to get pushed to the wayside because a lot of the people that are building business solutions, people that have advanced CRMs and stuff like that. Do you guys even call yourself a CRM anymore?
We're so much more than a CRM, but we still use this term because that's what people think of us as a CRM. But
we can't spend 45 minutes educating on why we're not a CRM more and more.
So
not helpful.
But to my point, a lot of these little like features and things that these singular providers offer, when you get with a more advanced CRM company, they're just going to be able to build the stuff. They're going to be able to bolt it on. They're going to be able to make it native to the platform. So then those pieces of technology are going to be irrelevant. And my opinion is to go and seek out the right solution for your business that you believe has an alignment with your vision of what you're looking for, both short and long term, because short-term pain is real, but long-term is incredibly important as well. What you don't want to do is onboard and then 6 to 12 months later find out that these guys are not moving at the speed of which that they need to be moving. But seek out that provider where your visions align. You may not align on everything, but make sure you align on 85, 90% of the things. Because if you guys can align there, pretty high probability that they will help to build these solutions. The really good CRM players are looking at these tools that are out there on the marketplace and then just sitting back waiting to decide when is the right time to deploy a little bit of development energy to just build it real quick and have it readily accessible to the platform and either charge a very small fee or no fee at all. Yep. So it's very messy. You could really quickly, I had to catch myself a time or two because you could really quickly get caught in this cycle of finding this, finding that. Oh, here's a flaw in our system. We need to fill this void. We need to fill this void. And we look to, naturally in 2025, we're looking to fill voids with technology versus like people. And the goal for me and for us is to work directly with your team at ProLine and just house everything in a singular ecosystem because it's one login, everything's native, it's all talking back and forth versus trying to bootstrap different pieces of technology and get them to play nice together. So it's very hard for people because the water's really muddy right now. And in my opinion, it's unfortunate for some of those solution-driven platforms, but I think the water's going to get a little bit more clear in the next 3 to 5 years.
It definitely will. So there's this, if you go back and you look at 3 to 5 years ago, there was a lot of these solutions that most of them ended up either going out of business or getting acquired. And so like I think one of the best examples recently has been SumoQuote. But you couldn't start SumoQuote today because every single CRM provider that's worth their salt has a robust quoting solution built in that has everything that SumoQuote has and more. And so it's the same thing here. It's an emerging technology, so you have a bunch of people that are jumping on the trend and being like, okay, well, we're going to be your AI receptionist company
because it fills a void.
Because it does fill a void.
Yes.
They do have a need. The issue is that unlike 3 to 5 years ago, where it was very hard to build some of this technology, or not just hard, but it took a long time. So it made sense sometimes to just go and buy one of these companies and then build them into your system. The way that Job Nimbus did with SumoQuote, which I think that was more common. That's becoming less and less common though, because the thing with us, this was about 8 to 10 months ago. We didn't have a ton of AI stuff built into the system yet. We had some, but we were kind of waiting and seeing what's going to make the most sense, what's going to last, because there's a lot of hype going on, what's actually going to last. And the number one thing we saw is this AI receptionist thing's not going away. People are adopting this. We're getting a lot of requests for integrations. So we looked at the solutions that are in the market. It took us 30 days to launch something that was about 80% of the other solutions in the market. And yes, there's absolutely bells and whistles that we don't have yet, or that we had to add later, or that are on our roadmap for the coming months on that feature. But there's no connecting through Zapier. There's no complex integrations. You don't have and we added it for minimal additional cost. We actually had some pushback from investors who are like, why are you not charging? Because these other players are charging $500, $1,000 a month to add a receptionist. And we're either adding it for no additional cost, or you might need an extra seat. And so, and the thing is, what we're seeing is that there's this price inflation where these players, because it's a new technology, they're trying to sell this at ridiculous pricing when it takes 30 days.
Well, they have to. They're running their whole organization on that one feature.
Yes, they don't have a choice.
Yeah,
and so, I mean, the waters are going to become a lot more clear in the next 3 to 5. And I feel I wish those founders the best, but it's a different environment now than it was 3 to 5 years ago. 3 to 5 years, you could have a solution and then get acquired by another player and rolled up into a bigger platform. That just doesn't make sense today. Mm-hmm. Not for the competent players that are building with current technology the way we're doing. So, it's an interesting environment. So let's jump in a little bit on a piece of technology that we have on the ProLine side that you guys use, but not a lot of our other users use, and that is the super admin system.
Okay.
How can you talk me through a little bit how are you managing, we don't need to name names, but how are you managing your franchise from a technology standpoint before you guys moved to ProLine? And then how did moving to us and having the super admin system change that?
Yeah, so we were with another CRM provider. We liked the platform, to be very, very honest, especially looking back 6 years ago. It was a good platform. And they built and they listened and they moved pretty quick. But we had a need where we needed visibility, we needed control, we needed reporting, we needed the ability to customize permission settings. So with what we're doing, whether it's a group roll up and it's private equity or it's a franchise concept, franchising is very specific to like driving compliance and making sure that everything is consistent. And the big thing is, how do you create, especially in our industry, how do you create a duplicatable experience regardless of the marketplace? We always talk about Chick-fil-A. If I go to Chick-fil-A here in Atlanta, I know it's going to be the same experience as the experience that I would get in South Central PA where I'm from. And if I say thank you, bless you. If I say thank you to one of the Chick-fil-A employees, I know that they're going to say my pleasure. So how do you, with knowing that we're sending people with in-home consultations, it's not to a retailer where we have direct supervision and oversight, how do we control as much as we can control? And we knew that we needed a very powerful piece of technology to do it. But the obvious thing is permissions, like what they can edit and what they can't. What happened early on? Have you guys seen the movie The Founder, like McDonald's movie?
Yeah.
So as an emerging franchisor, that movie it'll make you laugh and make you cry at the same exact time because it's so relatable. Where if you allow people to have control, they'll just go change things. So like we got in people's accounts and we recognized that like, oh my God, all our quote templates, these don't even look remotely close to what we built. They changed up workflows. They changed up different automations that we had. And this is not the same experience that we have at our flagship store. And this is not the same experience that we have down here. And I'll use a random state, Florida. So we needed more control. And that control's for a good purpose. And it's for the customer experience. So it's a replicatable, duplicatable type experience where it's consistent. We can consistently, if the experience is the same, we can tweak it and we can change it and then monetize it. And we can figure out, okay, is there a flaw in our quoting system? Is there a flaw in our sales process? Is there a flaw in the automations and the campaigns that are going out? It's much easier for us to control the fate of the organization when everything's consistent versus people just going rogue and them going and doing whatever. One of the really simple things is like for us to be able to just jump into an account without having to have a unique login to get into another account or having to use a franchisee's login to get into their own account. So that started to get messy. And as we continued to build out the organization, we're seeing more and more needs, which we're working with your team on. But that super admin portal is critical for us to be able to put guardrails on the system and protect the integrity of the operating system and the brand, but then also to be able to effectively make decisions and control the fate of the organization. Because if I don't have roll-up reporting, if we don't have visibility and access to certain things, if we don't have the ability to do things at a global level, it slows us down and it creates a negative experience for the end user, which is the customer, and it also creates a negative experience for our strategic partners as well. So super admin is I call it God mode. We cannot do what we need to do without it.
Yeah. What has there been any other than the ones you've mentioned, have there been any features in particular that have saved you guys a lot of time on the process of maybe spinning up a new franchisee or
the whole thing? The ease of which it takes us, like, you would probably know better than I would. It probably takes 15 seconds to deploy a new account. So when we bring in a new franchisee, our account is already set up. It's pre-baked, ready to go. All we got to do is put in somebody's information, press one button, and our whole entire technological operating system, I would call it, just gets deployed into their account, and they have access to something that we've worked 8 years for in 30 seconds. Their templates are all in there. The estimating, for the most part's in there. Company settings, campaigns, speed to lead everything, automations, everything is getting deployed. And the really cool thing is, as ProLine advances, we're able to make updates within super admin so that the template that we're deploying is the most up to date. So franchisees coming in tomorrow are getting the newest version that we can possibly push out based on the capabilities that ProLine has. They're getting the newest version in real time, and the setup is almost instantaneous. Something like the global search feature that you guys just helped work on with us. I know it made your life a little bit easier, but we now have the ability where if somebody says, hey, AJ Briley has an issue with their project, can somebody take a look at it? My team can just go right in a search bar, and all of our portfolio companies are there. We don't need to go into a single one. We can search AJ Briley, and boom, we can click on it. It'll drop us right into the account with his project details and pull everything up in about, once again, like a couple seconds. And we're in the right account. We're looking at the right project, and it's saving us time. It's allowing us to be more efficient.
Yeah. Love to hear that. And there's still a lot of work to be done there, which we're gonna chat about some of that stuff later. But yeah, that's the idea, is to save you guys time.
And there's as a franchisor, there's pieces of technology that help to manage, like call it like franchise compliance. It houses and stores the different documents and stuff like that, just for franchisor and franchisee protection. And the goal for me is to get that platform with your guys' help, to a point where that piece of technology is not needed, because it doesn't make sense. It does not make sense for us to have a separate piece of technology that allows us to monitor and support our franchisees when 95% of what they do is in ProLine. To me, it just naturally makes sense. If they're spending 95% of their time in ProLine, why would we not manage them with ProLine?
Yeah.
So the goal is to get it to a point. I know our vision's very similar, to a point where we're managing. The franchisees are doing what they need to do for customers, supporting them, scaling their teams, and we're helping to support and scale them, all in the same ecosystem and the same platform. And the more that we can consolidate that, I believe the more powerful we're going to be. And I believe the more powerful ProLine's going to be as well.
Here for it. So we're doing big things together. So, well, let's wrap up with some kind of general questions here. What do you in your career so far, what has been like the number one lesson learned that if you were to pass on, if you could, maybe we'll say it this way, if you could go back in time to your younger self at 22, what's the number one lesson that you would impart to that 22-year-old? Like, hey, you need to learn this now. It's going to save you a lot of trouble.
I'm still trying to learn this, which is it's a long game. Patience. We are in a instant gratification type environment. Everything is at our fingertips. It's at our thumbs, right? We can get almost anything that we want in seconds. So for me, it would be, hey, understand what you're signing up for, and understand that this takes time. And as long as you continue to push the issue, reinvest as much as you possibly can, that it'll all work out. All of us are in a rush to get somewhere, and I have to try and remind myself of that pretty frequently. And usually when we go on vacation is when I take a deep breath, and I'll just kind of like lay back in the water and just think about some of the things that we've been able to accomplish in just 7 or 8 short years. But it would just be to enjoy the process a little bit more. And once again, I'm still actively trying to understand that whole process, because when you're in it, when you're in the weeds, when you're trying to accomplish something that's really, really big and really massive, well beyond yourself, it's just hard to just kind of take a step back and recognize that what you're building is important. It's moving. It may not be moving at the speed of what you want, but it's all part of the game. We try to control time so much, and it's one of the most uncontrollable things in business. It's just a part of the equation. In order for your team to scale and grow with you, they have to mature into those roles. As much as I would like to be running $1 billion roofing and exterior company right now, I don't have the skills for it. I need to slowly but surely develop the skills to be able to run $1 billion company. If you take me where I'm at today and throw me in $1 billion company, you'll break me. Same thing with everybody in this room. We all want to get somewhere so fast, but I always refer to it as like kind of like a thermostat. If you change the temperature, you go into shock really, really quick. So you have to incrementally adjust that internal thermostat so that you're operating at a certain frequency, and then it becomes normal, and then turn the heat up a little bit, and then get used to that and turn the heat up a little bit. Like, I don't know if people have ever done cold plunges or saunas. It's the same shit. You just got to get acclimated, and to get acclimated takes time. Right. So I would tell myself to have a little bit of grace for myself and be a little bit more patient, understanding that it's a long game, and have a little bit of faith that it's all just going to work out in the end.
Yeah. No, I love that. It is absolutely a long game. And the people it's like we were talking about before, you got to be able to sacrifice, and you got to have patience that sacrifice is not necessarily going to pay off this year or even next year. It may take 5, 6, 7, 8 years, but I think that's what differentiates the people that really build something from the people that don't, is they don't have that patience.
The problem for most people is, and everybody struggles with this, is you don't know if it's all going to work out. Yeah. Or I sacrificed basically my entire 20s, and I'm in my early 30s right now. I am very well aware that I gave up my 20s, and I'm probably going to give up my 30s to get where I want to see us go. And that's a price that a lot of people aren't willing to pay. And that's a scary thing. Like, I can't get that time back. I can't get that time back with friends. I can't get that time back with family. So it's a little nerve-wracking because you don't know if it's all going to work out. You believe it is with everything that you have, or you wouldn't be doing it. But it's a strenuous on your family and your spouse. I just recently got married, and like she's a part of the ride, right? So it's nerve-wracking for her because I'm giving up time that we could be doing other things to chase a dream and a goal. And it has to work out, or I just gave up a large chunk of my life. So I think that's what keeps a lot of people. Well, one, it's why we have to be impatient, because we have to move with a high level of urgency to accomplish big things. But I think that's one of those things that deters a lot of people and usually gets them to pump the brakes, is like, this is a massive sacrifice, and if it doesn't all pay off or work out, then I wasted away X amount of years of my life. Yeah. That's scary.
Yeah. It's you're putting everything on the line.
But to that point, what are the consequences of not doing it?
The what if will kill you. So
I got goosebumps. Anybody else got goosebumps, or am I just giving myself goosebumps?
Yeah, you got to know. You got to know. You got to know it's and that you don't know unless you take the swing. So, anything, James, that you want to throw in the ring?
Nope. There's a couple things that I was going to split hairs on, but we're past them now. So, okay. All good.
All right. Well, let's
next time tell him to shut up and leave his opinions at the door. You talk too damn much, James.
No, good things to add. But yeah, I really appreciate you hopping on. This has been a good conversation, and I'm excited to see where we go together in the next 12, 18, 24 months. I mean, it's a wild ride, and a lot of things are moving very quickly right now.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you and the entire team at ProLine. Appreciate you guys having me to your office, and I'm looking forward to everything that we get to build together in the future.
Absolutely. Same to you.